Function will make your code cleaner and more powerful. Function are where code starts to look like a real developer wrote it. What is a function? Function is a block of code you can resume anytime. Without function, we spend all our times building something using PHP, or you can spend all our time building something without function. It will take a lot of time for you to, but with function, you can go easily, more professional, and more cleaner. Okay, now let me show you an example of what I mean. When we do something like this, you do this without function, which is very bad. Repeating yourself in code is a messy code. It's not good to repeat yourself in code. Instead, we can do this with function. Let me show you how we can do this with function. So can you see what we did there? This, this, and this is actually the same. Just that we did this first one without function, and we did the second one with function. So how we created this function, a PHP have what we call function. So to start creating your function, just call function, then give your function name. Now I give my function name greet, and I pass a variable here. Then I run my code inside this function. So after creating my function here, I call my function because after creating your function, I have to call your function. So let's check this in our browser. You can see both of them is actually the same. So can you see both of them is actually the same? With function, this is cleaner and this is clear way to do this. Write it once, use many times. But first, you have to understand basic function structure. So now I'm going to show you basic function structure because that is what you need to understand for you to master function very well. So how function work? First of all, PHP have what we call function. All you have to do is call function, then give your function name. You can name your function anything you want. Then you can pass any variable inside this bracket. Then after, you can run your code inside this function. So now, do you understand what you did here? Here we called function, then our function name. You can pass a variable here if it is necessary. It's not a must that you pass a variable, or you can pass it if you want. Then after your function name, then run your code here. This is what we call basic function structure. Then after creating your function, you have to call it so that the function will execute. Because without calling your function anywhere, you want it to function. That means your function will remain useless. So after creating your function here, you have to come something like place like this. Then call your function name. Our function name is what? Function name. Like what we did here. Here we created a function, bleed. Then we run our function here. So now here we called our function because without calling this function here, this function is not going to work. Very shaking out. This is our function disappear because we didn't call our function anywhere. So that means this function is useless. So you have to call this function somewhere if you want it to execute. This is our function of applied back. So this is what we call basic function structure and how function works. So you call your function using this method, your function name. That is how we call our function. You can also use function in parameters input. Function can accept data. Okay, let me show you the way function can accept data. When we have something like this, call a function, then create a function name, pass a parameter here. Then here you can run your code here. Then after that, you call your function here. So you see what you did here. So this is how function accepts data. You can pass parameter inputs inside your function. So this is how we pass our variable inside this function. So this is how we pass parameter inputs inside our function. Like wherever you see hello then you can also return value with function. This is very important. Instead of printing, just return value using function. Let me show you how we return value using function. First, okay, just copy this. This is how we return value with function. This is what we did here. Here we called our function, then give a function name as a variable inside this function. Here we say $a, comma $b, then return $a plus $b. So after creating this function, we now come down here and say $result equals to function equals to function name bracket. Then what we did here is that we are giving this this data a value. We are giving it a value. So now here we said add bracket 5, comma and 3. That means A is equals to 5 and B is equals to 3. So here we now called our function name. We said echo $result. So if you go to our browser, you will see that this return is going to add $a to what? $b. That means 5 plus 3 equals to 8. That's what we are going to get in our browser. So let's check our browser. Okay, you see what we got here. We got 3. We got 8 here. So this is how we return value with function. So do you know why we do this way? Because it is more flexible, can receive results. You can also use function in multiple parameters. Let me show you how we can use function in multiple parameters. Let's just copy this. Okay, this is how we use function in multiple parameters. Yeah, we call our function, then create our function name, first name, last name, like what we just did here. Then return our function, first name, dollar first name, dot. What we did here, we are just giving a space so that this first name and last name will have a space. We just to space it out. So dollar last name, then we execute our function here. So now we are going to get Benjo in our browser. Just check in our browser. Okay, use function in multiple parameters. So this is Benjo. If you also want, you can also add something like age here. So dollar, comma, age. Give a space, dollar, age. Then carry on. Age equals to 20. Then this is Benjo 20. So this is how we use function in multiple parameters. Hope you really understand what you did here. You can also default value with function. Okay, let me show you how we can default value with function. Just copy this. This is how we default value with function. We call our function, create a function name, then create a variable, then give it a value of user, then run our function and call our function here. So let's check the result in our browser. Okay, can you see what we got here? Hello user. Let me see. Can change to this to hello. Um, so we also get hello Benjo. You can also give space here. To give space here, we do this. You see it. So we give a space here. So this is how we default value using function. So hope you understand what you did here. So we can also use function in array. This is the most important one. How to use function with arrays. Okay, let me show you how we can use function with arrays. Okay, this is how we use function with arrays. Do you understand what you did here? Here we called our function, then create a function name. That's a variable here. Then now use for each. You know this for each is for this array. For each dollar username as user equal dollar user. We add the br to break. Then now we got our function inside what using array. So we got our function using our normal array. So let's check our result now. This is what we got here. So this is how you use function with arrays. Hope you understand what you did here. So if you don't understand, you can ask me more questions in the comment section. Or anything you want to know about PHP, you can ask me in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer you. I will be happy to reply you with a video. You can also use variable scope. Some programmers also make this mistake. Okay, let me show you a mistake that some programmers make. When you do something like this is will not work. This we did here will not work. This is a very big mistake a programmer make. Instead of doing this, you're supposed to do this. You just copy this. Comment this. Paste. So what you are missing here is this. This is what you are missing here. Variable inside function are separate unless you made it as a global. So whenever you are creating variables inside function, you have to make it as a global. Otherwise, you will have error on your PHP. Function is very important to us. We use function to do so many things in our PHP or in our website. We have function calculate total, function display result. After creating your function, return it instead of echo. So don't normally use echo to return your function. So after creating your function, return instead of echo. So it's not necessary to echo your function, just return it, it will run automatically. Then let me show you how to calculate price using function. Okay, just copy this. So this is how we calculate price using function. let me explain what we did here. Here we got our function, then give our function name total price. Then we have a variable called price and quantity. Then here we say return price times quantity. So here we did something like giving in this variable a value. So price, the price of what we bought is $100, and the quantity is what? Three is three. So this so that means $100 times three. So we are going to get the result in our browser. So let's check our browser. Okay, we get 300. So this is how to calculate price using function. Hope you understand what you did there. You can also check your login using function. So let me show you how you can check login using function. You just copy it. So this is how to check login using function. Here we said here we called function, then created our function name, then put a variable called user and a variable called pass, which is password. So in this login, you need your username and your password. So here we said if dollar equals to admin, this sign we use it as what, and so this is how we put and in our PHP, or you can use something like this, and you can use capital letter and, or you can use this. So here we say if dollar user double equals to admin. So when the user is equals to admin and password is equals to this code, then run through login. And if is not, and if is not, if user is not equals to admin and password is not equals to this, run false. That means if it's true, you are logged in. But if it's false, that means access denied. Your user details is not correct, or your password is not correct, or your username is not correct. So this is what we did here. Hope you understand what we did here. So this is how we check login using function. Common mistake we do when using function: forgetting to call function, missing return, wrong parameters. Function are very important for in our code. It avoid repetition, it organize code, reduce logic, build scalable apps. So this is what function done for us in our code. Function is very important for us. It's done so many things. So this is what hope you understand all we did here. If you don't understand, you can ask me a question in the comment section. You can ask me anything you want to know about PHP in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.